Hey, I'm Mark with Best Realty, and if you are looking at doing a rent-to-own, you need to check out this video before you do so. Hey everybody, Mark Salas here at Best Realty. I got a friend of mine, Craig Duncan. I consider him he's an entrepreneur. He's got many different things going. He's got different businesses. He's got things kicking. Every time I talk to Craig, it's like he's got something else in the hopper. So I love talking with him. One of the reasons why I wanted to interview Craig, and I want everybody else out there to see rent-to-owns. I get so many people calling me and saying, hey, listen, I'm interested in a rent-to-own, or you know what, I saw this house and I thought it was a rent-to-own. And the first thing I do is I tell them the cons, because in my mind, it is a con. Craig has done a rent-to-own on his own, and we talked about it. I didn't realize until after he got into it that he was doing a rent-to-own. I think that's when we started doing business together, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, so it wasn't right away. But Craig's going to tell us firsthand. I'm going to tell you what I know about him. Craig's going to tell you his experience. So the first thing is, in my mind, you have all the liability but none of the benefits. And what that means is, say the roof is bad. Say it floods. They look at you and they're saying, fix it.
Right.
It's your house.
Yes.
So from a real estate standpoint and from a real estate standpoint, you're not the legal owner. You do not have the title in your name. Therefore, if you're rent to own, yes, you're renting it, you're expected to do all the repairs. A water heater goes out, a roof goes out. I mean, we're talking, a roof could be $10,000.
Yeah, and a flooded basement could be easy $10,000, especially with anything you have in the house.
Exactly, and they're looking at you, and the way the lease is written is, it's your responsibility.
Yeah,
You
and
fix it. It's not my house, it's your house.
it's funny you used to say that because the night it rained for 2 days about a year ago, and I think it was March or April, and it flooded 2 feet of water in the basement, and it's a $500,000 home, real nice up by UCCS College. So I called the guy. He's on a beach in Italy drinking wine, and I said, what do I do? Who's your maintenance guy? And he says, you're the maintenance guy. And he says, go get it. I'll reimburse you for everything. So I had to go to Lowe's, get the equipment. I had to hire my own employees to come to my home and suck water for 3 days.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
yeah, it was horrible.
Did he end up paying you?
Never.
Okay.
None back. No.
All right,
No.
sounds good. So here's the other thing that's huge is you may not even be dealing with the owner of the home. And I've heard numerous stories where someone's doing a rent to own. And by the time you figure out who you're actually doing business with, you realize it's not the owner. Now, Craig had this experience.
Oh, yeah.
He took the guy to court because they had some issues. I don't know
Well,
what
it
the
was
issues
black
were.
mold. He never ended up fixing the damage, and I lived in the house for almost 6 months, and then a good friend of mine said, what's that horrible smell? And I said, well, it's coming from downstairs. I think something's rotten from the mold. They took me down and explained black mold and it's permanent damage in your lungs. At that point, I refused to stop making payments on my rent until something was fixed. For 3 months, he kept saying, okay, I'll fix it, but it was on the 1st when he was coming to collect the rent, and I kept waiting and kept waiting. Finally, I got a lawyer and I went to court, and I realized I had rights.
Okay, all right, yeah. So at that point in time, when he went to court, he realized it wasn't even his house.
Now, it was his daughter's house.
It
She
was
lives
his
in
daughter's.
Florida.
So once again, I've heard this story. You may be doing business and handing over a check to someone who doesn't even own the property. So that's another issue. The one thing I told Craig is, you know what? There's not one person I know that's ever done a rent to own that ended up owning the home.
That's right. I've never heard of one either,
Yep,
ever.
yep.
It's a false lie.
It is. So really the game is you put a large down payment down, or maybe the rent is usually, we'll call it $1,500 a month, and they charge $2,200
Right.
a month. So basically they're saying $700 goes towards your principal.
Well, that's what he
towards
said.
the
This is a
price.
great deal. He says, hey, I know you make good money, but give me $2,000 down. So first month, last month, deposit, and then an extra $2,000, and then I was paying $1,850, and he was charging me $2,250, and everything above that went to supposedly me owning my new home.
There you go.
And I lost every penny. I didn't get any equity back. And when I won the case in court, even though we do have rights and there is justice, now you got to turn around and take him to small claims court. And even if you win, Mark, they don't have to pay you.
No,
So it's
good
just a
luck
bad,
getting it.
it's a bad mark on their credit.
Yeah.
So you're out of everything.
So here's the gist. They have different structures for those for the rent to owns. It depends on what the owner wants that you're renting it from. So they can say, hey, listen, the ones I've heard is you give me a large down payment, anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 down, and then you start paying on the property. And by the way, there's another client I had that was doing rent to own, and he was in there for 3 years. He didn't even miss a payment. He called and said, hey, listen, I'm gonna be a day late. They said, no problem. So
They evicted him.
they evicted him. Yep, and they had a right to. Based in the lease, he was late. They had a verbal on the phone saying we're good. He didn't have anything in writing, and per their contract, he was in violation. So the game was get him out, we have equity, so we got two things. We can sell the home and make money, or we can get someone else to give us another large down payment and we can do the
Try to
process
sell.
all over again.
It's a big con.
Yeah, so more or less it is. I look at it like a con. It's not something I do. It's not something I recommend for anybody. I think you'd be better off renting.
Well, let's show them. Mark, I own a really large tree company, and at nighttime, anybody can be taken. At nighttime, I'm a detective for U.S. Judicial Services, Denver, Colorado. So I serve warrants and I do evictions. I'm a processor. And I thought I was safe because I served the law and I served warrants, and I thought no one in their right mind would take advantage of someone like me. I was wrong.
Yeah.
And that badge held no weight in the court of law, and no one cared.
No.
I was a fool for giving my money away.
And the bad thing is, it depends on the contract that you wrote or that you signed, and that's really what dictates. So, there's so many bad things, but the biggest thing that I've seen is, all right, like the mold.
Right.
You didn't have insurance for it. I don't even know if a tenant's insurance policy would cover it.
Well,
because
it passed the
legally
law in
you're not the
January,
owner.
so now you can actually sue for black mold, but not until just last January, and nobody knows it.
Okay, all right, sounds good. And here's the other thing is, you're never the legal owner. So
No.
even on title, something happens. So say you did have a major issue, okay, you had a flood. I don't know if your insurance company would cover you because you're not the owner of the property. That's
Exactly.
what I'm getting at. So if you sign one of these lease agreements and basically you're saying I am responsible for everything because I am renting to own,
You will be.
then you, in the eyes of the court, I would think that, hey, listen, they're gonna say, you signed it. It says in black and white right here, you're responsible for everything. If you didn't have an insurance policy to take care of it, that's your problem.
Right.
What about a roof? We talked about a roof that was bad, and if you get something flooding, once again, I can't see a tenant's policy, insurance policy, taking care of a roof for a property you don't own. And then tax benefits, that's another one. So, when you own a home, one of the benefits is you get to claim it on taxes.
That's right.
Well, legally, you're not the owner. You're renting. You can't claim rent on taxes, at least not to my knowledge. It's something that you may want to talk to an accountant about, but that's a problem. You're paying for upkeep, you're paying for repairs, you're paying additional on top of the rent, and by the way, you can't even claim any of that on taxes. So,
Not a bit.
Yeah.
None of it.
hey, thank you so much for talking with me
Well,
today.
I want to say one last thing. Ever since my problem, Mark has opened up my eyes to becoming a homeowner and a renter, and I've been working diligently to do that. And he has actually given me hope that I can own my own home after all the losses I've taken.